take a look at what we're seeing. Obviously no vapor barrier here. Got multiple new girders, which are terribly shimmed. All these old supplemental supports, which really are going to fail at any point now, especially with the elevated moisture content we have here, but they don't necessarily have to be replaced at this point. Our moisture content is very high. Even in this taller portion of the crawl space over here, we're seeing 29%, super high. And we're going to see that trend continue to get worse. As you can see, these bays aren't quite 16 inches or 15 and a half on center. There's gapping in between a lot of the joists, which obviously is reducing much of the insulating value, as well as a lot of this insulation is very wet, which also reduces the insulating value. Here's another bad shim on a girder. Another supplemental support just thrown in right onto the ground underneath this girder. Technically these girders are supposed to span 5 feet on center. These are 8 feet about on center. Here we go. Here's where it starts to get real dicey. Lots of moisture coming through the ground, doing damage to this insulation. We can see where the efflorescence is in the brick up at that top. We're lower down into the ground, so especially in heavy rains, there's going to be lots of moisture over here, which is why we see that insulation falling. Improperly done extra support. That's not done properly. There's gapping at that end. This is really quite sketchy. Main girder line, which has been thoroughly eaten away by moisture and mold. That is over. Not even reading that, it's so high. It's been chopped off. Now there's only one single joist, which isn't even spanning the whole length, supporting this main girder area. As you can see, it continues down to the end, which is also chopped off over there. That is supposed to be at least 2, but usually 3 joists running the length from pier to pier, bearing point to bearing point. We've got this support, which was obviously thrown in not too long ago because this was sinking, I imagine. Lots of mold, tons of it on the ground, huge amounts over here on another one of these newer supplemental supports, which is poorly shimmed here. That's just gonna erode and sink and sag eventually, especially if we allow this amount of moisture. Tons of insulation starting to sag from the heavy moisture down over here, as we can see. And the same trend continuing along. This is underneath the kitchen area, and we see the same thing continuing down here. Another girder which is really poorly shimmed.